LeBron. Hello, podcast listeners out there. Quick favor to ask. I'm trying to grow my audience here on iTunes, and I need you to subscribe to this Terrific Talk podcast. Maybe give it a couple stars, leave a comment as a review, or I'm not going to do this podcast anymore, okay? F you people. I don't know. I do all this. I slave over this podcast for you. I think it's the least you could do. Just kidding. Just kidding. But if you can do that, I'd really appreciate it. It'd be great. I got a fun podcast today. Alex Kennedy. All right, here's the podcast. Listen.
Sound going crazy.
Terrific Talk Podcast. Welcome back, Terrific Talk Podcast.
Here comes the host.
I'm your host, Tom Anderson.
First, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Knicks win it. Back.
All right, welcome to the Terrific Talk Media Podcast. I'm Tom Anderson. Beautiful day here from the Hoboken Studios in New Jersey. Thanks for checking the podcast out, whether you're listening on iTunes or right off of clnsmedia.com. I've got a fantastic guest today. Alex Kennedy is a writer and reporter for Hoops Hype, and he's nice enough to take some time from his busy schedule to come on the podcast today. Let me bring him in here. Alex, thank you for coming on, and welcome to Terrific Talk.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
For sure. So one reason I really wanted to have Alex on today is because he's worked his tail off to get to where he's at. Alex, you were kind of lucky. You knew early on that you wanted to be a sports writer. How important do you think that is, that you knew what you wanted to do at such an early age? Because a lot of people out there have no clue, and it can be overwhelming.
Yeah, first off, thanks for the kind words. It definitely helped me. I think it was an advantage. I was 13, 14 years old, and I realized, I'm obviously not good enough to be an NBA player or an NFL player, so let me try to, cover these stories and get to know the athletes. And really, it was just, I knew I was passionate about sports, and then I made the switch to, okay, let's stop playing sports and start covering them. Some people take a lot longer to kind of give up their sports dreams, and then they're kind of left unsure of what to do next. So I definitely think it was an advantage for me. I remember being that young, and people thought it was weird that I was, talking about a career and my dream job. And, it's an age where you don't really think about those things. But, it was definitely something that I look back on. I'm very glad that I decided at a young age, because I started taking the steps toward, that career, and started kind of developing mentors and started covering games at 14. And, I look back and think so many people, the Orlando Magic were the first team that I got credentials for. And I had to bring my dad to the games as a chaperone. I'll never forget that. But Jason Wallace and Joel Glass from the Orlando Magic PR department, they were excellent. They were super nice to me. And basically, whenever there were games that were, empty, people were kind of uninterested in the games. The Magic were really bad at that time. I was writing for Real GM. They let me come cover games, and super fortunate that they allowed me to do that.
Yeah, you say you were 14. You submitted a media credential request to the Magic there. Where do you think that go-getter attitude came from?
Man, I don't know. Sometimes I wish I could harness that now. I was just really in love with basketball, and I wanted to write about it. And at that time, I was a diehard basketball fan. I watched basketball games all the time. So the thought of being able to not have to pay for tickets and just be in the building for free was, the thought was insane to me, much less getting paid for it. So to me, that was just, it wasn't like I was going out there and doing a job in my head. I'm going out there and getting to not only watch a basketball game in person, but meet the athletes and talk to them. It just seemed insane that this was a real job to 14-year-old me. So I remember, my first interview was with Jameer Nelson. He was a rookie at the time. And everyone was super nice. Jameer Nelson, Steve Francis, guys on my old Magic team, they were so friendly to me. And because I was so young, they were excellent. And then I went from being a 14-year-old to being, 17, 18 years old. And I really realized, okay, I'm closer in age to some of these players than the media members are, because they're a lot older. And then it became an advantage where I related with these guys. We listened to the same music. We had the same interests, and that was really cool too, because then I went through the whole period where, it wasn't being the outsider. It was, okay, these players see me as someone that, they can talk to and that they're more comfortable with, and that was a big advantage as well.
Steve Francis, you said, took you kind of under his wing there. You know, he's an all-star guy. It's a big player. Why do you think he helped you out and was so nice? And what kind of things did he teach you?
Yeah, just a super nice guy. I think he's someone that, early on, I wasn't someone that was, shouting out questions at press conferences and really standing out whenever there was like a media scrum. I was really kind of learning and just kind of watching the people around me.
Right.
And I think Steve noticed that early on. And after a scrum would, break up, he would pull me to the side and be like, hey, man, do you have any, questions just for me now that everyone's kind of gone? And I remember specifically, one thing that he would do is we'd be walking out of the arena, and he would take me through the players' parking lot and say, look, man, let's just do a one-on-one interview. Basically help me get practice, knowing, again,
wow,
star level player, a guy that was really leading the Magic at that time and putting up these big stats. And after a game when he could be doing anything else, it's not like he's doing this one-on-one interview to help himself. And
right.
It's not like he's talking to ESPN. He's talking to a 14-year-old kid to try to help him build confidence and become a better interviewer. And I'll never forget that. I've reached out to Steve since then, and it's funny. So he started following me on Twitter years later and just following my work. And I reached out and I said, I don't know if you realize, but I'm like that kid that you talked to. And it blew his mind. And I thanked him so much for being so supportive and taking me under his wing and helping me so much. He didn't have to do that. It was so selfless, and there were so many other stories like that where Tim Duncan came and talked to me on his way back to the locker room on the court when before a game, which he did not have to do. Grant Hill was another guy that was just super nice, and to this day, I talk to him, and he's the friendliest guy in the world. It really taught me early on, there are some great people around the NBA that will really want to help you, and it was really cool to not be seen as just some media member or the enemy like some of these players view the media as. They were super welcoming and friendly, and it was great.
So it sounds like you had a lot of support on the court. You mentioned your dad, chaperoning you at games. How supportive were both of your parents of you going out there and following your dreams?
Oh, yeah, they were super supportive. It was excellent. I mean, we live in Tampa, so it's a 2-hour drive to Orlando. So,
wow.
My dad, in the beginning, just like me, he was thinking, okay, this is great. Like, my son got me free tickets to a game, and I get to go to the locker room, like, see behind the scenes. He thought it was really cool. But I mean, it was asking a lot of them. They're working full-time jobs, and having to drive 2 hours over to Orlando, and then 2 hours back after a game. I mean, it was definitely asking a lot. My dad was typically the one that took me to games. I remember there were a few games that my mom took me to, and she basically would just sit in the media room and do her own thing, and then she couldn't have cared less about the basketball and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So my dad definitely enjoyed it more, and seeing behind the scenes, and even talking to some of the players themselves. He talked to some of the players and got to know some of the guys because he was basically just standing around. But yeah, I mean, that was a crazy year having him chaperone me. I'll never forget that, and it definitely. I will say this. I didn't go there and have to immediately talk to a bunch of other people. And at 14 years old, it's pretty intimidating being in that situation. So it definitely was. That support was great, and I think they were happy that I found something I was super passionate about as well.
For sure. The first year you're out, you said you were kind of studying everybody, seeing how this whole operation kind of worked. What were some of the biggest lessons that you learned that first year?
Well, I think the biggest thing was, learning just how a good interview is conducted. You realize asking open-ended questions is really important, and then also developing relationships with guys. Instead of just being, media member number 20 that's shouting out a question, when you can actually pull a guy to the side and talk off the record and be friends with these guys, that is so much more valuable, and those relationships really pay off when it comes time to break news, when it comes time to get exclusive interviews, when everyone's trying to talk to them. I learned a lot of really important lessons early on, and then later I went to journalism school at the University of South Florida and learned similar things there, and I felt like I had a kind of a leg up because I'd seen all of these terrific journalists from the Orlando Sentinel, the Tampa Bay Times, all these different newspapers, and then online publications as well. I saw them in action, and that was another thing too. I really want to thank Road GM because early on I was working with their editors, and they were super patient with me. I mean, I can't thank them enough for helping me as a kid, become a better writer, find my voice, figure out, what kind of content does the best. So not only was I learning from people around me in Orlando at games, I was learning from people across the country that were editing my work and, helping me tell the best stories.
Quick break to talk about RX Bar. I work every day on a show from 12 to 2, so I always have to eat my lunch before the show. When 5 o'clock comes around, I'm doing this podcast, I am starving. RX Bar is a game changer. RX Bars are gluten-free, soy-free, dairy-free. Whether you like sweet or savory, chocolate or fruit flavors, there's definitely an RX Bar for you. They've got 14 flavors: mango pineapple, chocolate hazelnut, peanut butter and berries, chocolate sea salt, coconut chocolate, mixed berry, blueberry, maple sea salt, apple cinnamon, mint chocolate, chocolate chip, peanut butter chocolate, and coffee chocolate. Ton of options, and they're great for any occasion, whether it's breakfast on the go, snack at the office, snack on the plane. You can bring with you on a hike or a bike ride. It's a good snack before or after you go to the gym. And the egg white protein stands out as a source of protein that is easy for your body to absorb. Today I've got a special offer for you. For 25% off your first order, go to rxbar.com/terrifictalk and enter the promo code TerrificTalk at checkout. That's for 25% off your first order. You just go to rxbar.com/terrifictalk, enter the promo code TerrificTalk at checkout, and enjoy. All right, let's get back to Alex Kennedy. Amazing. What was your first big breaking news story that got some, national attention?
Well, there were a few quotes I got from people early on. I didn't really know how to develop sources and break news, and it's not like I was reaching out to guys about free agency or trade or things like that. So early on, it was really quotes that spread bigger than I had expected. I remember during J.J. Redick's rookie year, he was upset with his role, and really for whatever reason, just opened up to me and started talking about his lack of playing time, and
Wow.
He wasn't very happy. And that quote did really well. And then I remember there was another quote, I believe it was J.R. Smith. I think he was in Denver at this time. We're just talking, and it's the day of the trade deadline, and he was at the game, before the game, getting up shots and warming up. And, we were just kind of chatting, and he came over and told me, I just talked to the front office. We didn't make any trades. And I was like, oh, wow, that's actually pretty relevant. And at this time, I'm reading Hoops Hype. I'm reading Real GM. I'm trying to just consume as much, NBA news and rumors as possible. So I recognized, oh, wow, if that's true, then that's huge because everyone's trying to figure out if this team's going to make trades. It was, there were plenty of rumors circulating about the Nuggets at that point. So I put out that, J.R. Smith says he talks to the front office and they're not making any trades. And then that kind of blew up a little bit. And then later, I started reporting on free agency. There were a few agents that I became close with, and I want to thank them as well because they were super supportive and helped me a lot, gave me a lot of information. And that's really when I started developing a Twitter following and things like that because people were kind of hungry for the news that I was putting out there or the rumors I was putting out there.
How do you kind of develop relationships and sources with agents and players and executives? What's kind of the strategy behind that? How does that whole thing work?
Well, I had left Real GM. Actually, no, I was still at Real GM. Last year at Real GM, I started cold calling agents. And by this point, I had been learning from people around me and really stepped up and started, interviewing people on my own, talking to people. So I had already built relationships with some players. There were a number of players that I, met when they came to Orlando, and I would see them, either guys that were on the Magic or when they came to Orlando, I would catch up with them. So I built, those relationships, and then that kind of helped me, meet some agents because I had the player kind of vouching for me, like, oh, yeah, I know him, telling their agent. So then the agent would, respond to me or reach out to me. So that was big for me because then I got to know some of the agents. And then just being at games all the time, that helped me meet so many executives too. And then after Real GM, I joined Hoops World, which was a website that was around, and now it's Basketball Insiders. Steve Kyler runs it. He covers the NBA out of Orlando as well. So, he saw me kind of reporting on the league and, living nearby, covering the league out of Orlando, just like he was doing. And then I went to media day with him, and that was kind of like my tryout. I had to go interview players, and he wanted to see how comfortable I was just in the locker room around guys. And then he was impressed and hired me, and then I was with them for a long time, almost 10 years. I ended up writing for Hoops World, and then they were owned by USA Today, and I contributed to them a little bit, and then it became Basketball Insiders. So, I basically, the once I was with them, they really stressed development sources. He introduced me to so many executives and agents and even more players. And then that's when really I kind of found a cheat code, which was if you go to the training facilities in the summer, the places like IMG Academy, all the places where guys are working out in the summer, when the season comes around, the players are going to know you. These executives are going to know you. And that was something that really helped me develop a ton of sources. I'll say that.
You are one of the best social media follows, in my opinion. You've got videos, links to your articles. You do lists, like which NBA players are 30 years old this season. Just interesting facts. Your feed's always fresh, creative. It's engaging. Just kind of want to pick your brain a little bit. What's your approach to social media? What are your goals with that?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Basically, I just always wanted to cover the league from a different angle. I've wanted to tell stories, and I've been able to do that now with my podcast. I've always wanted to write long-form articles. I've been able to do that now with Hoopsite. And then just find interesting facts. I'm someone that loves stats, but also loves, the CBA and salary type information. I love, behind the scenes type stuff. That's something that is really interesting to me because I think when you're a diehard fan, you know everything there is to know about the NBA except for what happens behind the scenes, the things that you can't see. So what happens with agents? What happens with the front office? What happens when players are working on the offseason? It's the things that you don't see. Maybe every now and then you get a glimpse of them through social media. So I want to take that and take it to the next step in this level and really interview these people about what's happening behind the scenes. Really try to pump out a lot of videos through the website. Some of those I make, some of those I don't. I have to give credit to Jorge Sierra, Raul, Alberto, Frank Urbina, guys like that are at Hoopsite that help with those videos. That sometimes I just share them. And then basically I just wanted to kind of go behind the scenes in the NBA and in college basketball and really kind of show what happens to fans that are curious because we'll never be in a free agent meeting. We'll never be at a free agent workout or in the war room on draft night. I can do my best to share what it's like behind the scenes at those moments, and that's been a lot of fun telling those stories.
I just listened to your podcast with Twitter CEO, co-founder Jack Dorsey. Congratulations, first of all, on that. That was an awesome get. Great podcast. How did you go about getting him on the podcast? How did that come about?
Honestly, most of the crazy guests I've gotten on podcasts, I've been fortunate enough that they followed me on Twitter, and then I've reached out to them. I started DMing them, and we started conversing, and the next thing I know, I want them to join the podcast. They say yes, and we're talking. So it's been really cool, to see Twitter, which is something that has helped me so much throughout my career. To have the CEO and co-founder of Twitter on the podcast, who's a huge Warriors fan, loves the NBA. It was really interesting, and I wanted to, I wanted to talk about just his rise and his creation and what it became and what it was like to be in his position. And then we did talk some basketball too, just because we understand, we have a basketball audience. So we wanted to obviously talk about his love of the NBA, love of the Warriors. But really all the guests that I can look at and think, wow, how did I get him on the podcast? It's awesome. It started with a Twitter follow. Guys like Kobe Bryant, Dominique Wilkins, and Jack Dorsey. It was something that I never planned. When I started this podcast, I did not think we'd be having guys like Kobe on to talk about random topics. But here we are. I'm not complaining.
Can you take us through kind of a typical day for you? What's your schedule like?
It's pretty different day to day. I'll say that. On a game day, I now live much closer to Orlando, thankfully, so I'm not driving from Tampa. So on a game day, basically I'm trying to prepare. Try to figure out, talk to my editors and talk about, which storylines we want to pursue. So I'm looking at, both rosters, trying to figure out, okay, who am I going to approach for interview? Am I looking to do a story just with one player and, interview them for a Q&A or a shorter piece? Or am I working on a long-form piece where I need to interview 5, 6, 7, sometimes 20 players? It really depends. Right now I'm working on a story that should be dropping in the next few days about Seattle's basketball culture. So I've been talking to guys like Jamal Crawford, Zach LaVine, Tony Roten, Spencer Hawes, a bunch of guys that are from Seattle, and I've been interviewing them. And I actually was in Seattle last week. So on a game day, I'm typically looking at the rosters, and I'm at the arena about 2 hours before the game starts. They open up locker rooms an hour and a half before the game. You can talk to players, talk to the coach right beforehand, and then you watch the game from the media area, and then afterwards, you're getting post-game quotes. And really, it's really interesting. I'm not ever writing about the games itself. I don't do game recaps or things like that. So, I'm trying to find the best times to talk to players about topics that are more evergreen. And fortunately, I've been able to develop a lot of relationships with players, and they're really open to talking pregame or postgame.
Personal-wise, 5-10 years down the line, where do you kind of see your career going? Do you have any idea?
Well, I hope, just building the hoops type, honestly, I'm so happy there. I can't even tell you how great it's been. I'm able to choose the articles that I want to work on, and Jorge comes up with these fantastic ideas for articles and pitches them to me, and then some of those have been the articles that I've done the best, where he throws an idea my way, I kind of get different players in line for interviews and execute it, and it's been amazing. I love the experience at Hoopsite, so I'd be fine if 5 to 10 years from now I'm still with Hoopsite. Honestly, it's been amazing. I would like to write a book eventually that kind of does more of the behind-the-scenes type, content that I'm talking about. I think that'd be interesting in a book form. There have been a few different times where I've talked to publishers and talked to players about possibly interviewing players and following them from the high school ranks to their first year in the NBA. I think that would be a fascinating book. There's so much happens.
Yeah.
When from when a guy's in high school to when they're joining the NBA, they're different. There's so many different things, and players, it's always interesting to see how they change from that period to their first year in the league. So I talked about doing that. There were a number of draft classes where I looked at it and actually had commitments from 4 or 5 players to do a book. And then, for one reason or another, it kind of fell apart. But that is still something I'm about to do. I'd love to write a book someday. So, hopefully we're growing the podcast and, growing Hoopsite's audience. I'd love to keep doing that. And then maybe a book someday. That'd be great.
I would love to read that. Alex, this was great. Everybody, go check Alex out on Twitter. His handle is @AlexKennedyNBA. Take a look at all his great work at hoopshype.com. Alex, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks